Alright, so again, I sent you an email yesterday, and that email looked like this. You all got it, and it's you should have gotten a zip folder named 11719. It has two programs, the GUIs for two programs for Chapter 5 in it. So if you'd please take that, bring it over to your desktop, wherever you typically put things. And first, let's take a very quick look at what these programs are. Alright, so the first one we're going to do is number 4, and you can see it on the screen here. Write an application named DailyTemps that continuously prompts the user for a series of daily high temperatures until the user enters a sentinel value. Alright, valid temperatures are -20 through 130 Fahrenheit. I may have made mine 50, I don't remember, but I'll change it, so that's not a big thing. When the user enters a valid temperature, add it to the total. When the user enters an invalid temperature, display an error message. Before the program ends, display the number of temperatures entered and the average temperature. Hopefully that's, stated well enough that it makes sense to you. So, I'm going to bring up my copy. Again, this is in the 117 folder, DailyTemps. Now, again, I just want to remind you one more time, tomorrow what we will do is when you get in here, we'll do a quick review of Chapter 4, then take the Chapter 4 written test. Then I'm going to give you about an hour where I'm going to talk about the rock, paper, scissors. All right? That should bring us to somewhere around 9:30, quarter to 10. The rest of the period will be lab. No class next Monday again, Martin Luther King Day. Tuesday, the only thing that's on tap is the quick test review for Chapter 5 and you taking the written test. The rest of Tuesday will be a lab. All right? Wednesday will be your next hands-on test. Thursday I'll go over the test and we'll start on Chapter 6. One of the things I'm going to do when we get to Chapter 6 is this program that we're writing right now, we're going to rewrite that using arrays. That's not in the book. Will you have to turn it in? No. But I want to show you how we're going to transition over to the use of arrays. And now not next week, but the entire next week, we're going to be working on arrays. All right? We will be spending more than a week just on that chapter because I want to make sure everybody understands what indeed those are about. I don't know what that's doing here. So if you look on the screen, here is my interface. It looks like there's some errors on it already. For instance, right here, this shouldn't say -50. It should say -20. So I apologize for that. Because I got to do a better job of reading the reading the specs, and I didn't. So that says 20. It's not that big a thing one way or the other. You'll notice that if I run the program right now, that literally nothing's going to happen. All right, I can put in information here. I can put in information here. I can put in information here. All right. Now, the first thing I'd like you to do, if you've got yours up, is the high temperature and the average temperature, because I forgot to do this. Both of these fields here should be read-only. So go to your high temperature field. Go to the read-only, all right, which is currently set to false. Double-click it, and it turns to true. Then do the same thing for the average temperature. You should not be able to, those values should be filled in, but you should not be able to change those values. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes? No? Yes. All right. Second thing, as you've seen me do now several times, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write the exit code, exit button code. Then I'm going to write the clear button code. Look on the screen, please. 4 lines again in the clear button code. Clear this, clear this, clear this, and set your cursor back there. All right? Okay. So I'm going to open up and write my exit button code. It's the same stuff you've seen several times now. Spell. Like here. There we go. All right. So that's all the code. Again, hopefully by now you're comfortable with that code. In fact, what I've done, you may want to do this, is just copy this code right here, all of it, throw it into a text file someplace, and then just bring it up whenever you need it. Then you don't have to type it anymore. All right? I have it someplace. I just don't remember where I put it. Here's an error here because that comma should be outside of the double quote. That should be clean. When you take your test next week, I will be showing you what I want basically the output to look like. And for the GUI one, again, there will be the buttons. All right, so you will be expected to do this. How you do it again, as always, is totally up to you. All right. Everybody cool with that? Everybody has that, correct? All right. Then let's go up to the clear button. We've already talked about this. When we click the clear button, what we want to have happen is that to clear, that to clear, that to clear, and we want our cursor to go back to our temperature. All right? So I've shown you this before, but I don't remember the names of these. So what can I do? I can either click on each one, so text box temp, text box high temp, text box AWD temp, or I can come over here and click that down arrow and see the names of them all at the same time. All right? So for the clear, text box temp.text equals the empty string, text box high temp.text equals the empty string, text box AWD temp dot text equals the empty string, and text box temp dot focus. Again, by now, other than the fact that when we do this, we change the names every time, none of the stuff that's in here right now should be surprising to you. All right? Hopefully everyone got the other stuff in there. I'll move this down a little bit just in case. So that's the code we've added so far. All right. And what does that mean? Well, that means I should now be able to run the program, and the clear button should be operational. All right. And the exit button should be operational. All right. So I'm going to save this by clicking the double disk icon. I'm going to run it. I'm just going to throw, oh, it says there were errors. So I did something wrong. Oh, I'm missing my curly brace there. Okay, that was my fault. So again, when I run this, I can put a value here. I can click clear. That works. I can click exit. And that works. Well, that's good. That's a great start. So there's my exit code. There's my clear code. All right. And as you can guess, that means that the only thing that we've got left to do here, all right, the only thing that's left to do here is our calculate button. All right. Now, I added at the top of my program, I added 4 constants, and I added three different variables at the top. So there's not a whole lot of passing around and stuff that I did in here. All right. Okay. So I'm going to come up to my calculate button. All right. And start putting in code. But I guess before I do, again, declare and initialize global program constants. And as I said, there'll be like 4 of them. Const int min temp equals -20. That's the lowest allowable temp. Const int max temp equals, I think it was 130. All right. Const int end temp. That's when I want to end this whole program. And I made it -999. And const string temp out of range. And I set that equal to temp must be greater than or equal to -50 and less than or equal to 130. As always, if you don't like my names, you can make your own. Just remember then that you're going to have to update your code accordingly as we go through this. What does it say in the -20? It says in the book. All right. Yeah, that should. Oh, if I said, then I'll have to change that one. Yeah, 20. Thank you. Again, double check. Looking in the book, though, they say -20 right there. All right, and 130. So that's where I got that from. All right. After I do that, I'm going to declare and initialize my global program variables. And I've got 3 of them. Int tote degrees. I'm going to set that equal to 0. Int high temp. And I'm going to set that equal to -131. That's not a mistake. Int num temps. And I'm going to set that equal to 0. I'm going to let you put that in, and then I'd like to take a second and explain what I'm doing with those variables. right? The big thing here, if you would all please for a second just look on the screen. Would anybody have any idea why would I go and make the high temp negative 131? It's not a mistake. True or false? That's going to guarantee that whatever temperature I put in first, as long as it's valid, is now going to be the high temperature. Because our valid range is negative 20, all right? And I really could have made it negative 21. I mean, there's nothing special about that. If I had a low temperature, I would have set it to 131. All right? This will force, and like I said, I guess that probably would have been even cleaner. Since negative 20 is the smallest, it probably should be negative 21 like that. All right? Either way, it's going to work. That's not important. But again, tote degrees, so if I read in 5 temperatures, I'll take your question in a second. So if I read in 70, 80, 37, 46, and 12, all right, then tote degrees is going to be the addition of these. It's going to be 245. Does that make sense? Why am I doing that? Well, I'm doing that because what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to eventually want to divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want to get, you know, whatever that is, 49, I guess, something like that. Does that make sense? That's how I'm using this. All right? Yes. Could do that too. But it's always considered clean to initialize all of your variables. That's all. And the stuff that's in here, again, this is the smallest temperature that we're allowing. Whoops. That's the smallest temperature there that we're allowing. That's the highest temperature there that we're allowing. And that is our end temperature. Minus 999, I just made that up as an end temperature. That's it. That's all I did. Again, I could have made it anything I wanted to. All right? And again, then we've got our min, our max, etc. So all that stuff is in there. All right? Okay. So in the calculate button, I created 3 variables. Int, and I called it temp, and I set that equal to 0. A double for the average temp, and I set that equal to 0.0, and a Boolean, and you've seen me do this before, my old keep going, and I set that equal to true. All right, so I think I mentioned this to you before, but I'm saying it again. In many ways, this will look similar. All right, this will look similar to what we did yesterday. All right, so this temperature right here, this will be the inputted temp. Current temp, whatever you want to call it. This average will be the average of all inputted temperatures. And this is our program continue variable. All right. So again, if keep going. We talked about this yesterday. I don't want to belabor it too much. Okay, like I said, you all heard this yesterday, and that is the fact that since it's set to true up above, we know we're going to get into it right away. All right. Well, I'm going to come down here. Notice we got to calculate average. We've got to clear. Down here a little further, we've got our isNumeric. Well, I'm going to write my isNumeric code right now. We don't have to do that, but I'm going to write it right now. This code is, again, the same kind of code that I've been writing with you, and that is 2 lines, double test, return, double dot, try parse, input, out, test. I don't feel the need to go over that one anymore. We did yesterday. Remember, it'll return true if it is able to convert the number and false if it's not. All right? That's another one. I've literally, someplace, I don't know where it is because I moved my stuff around the other day, but I grabbed the exit code and I grabbed this code and I just threw them both in there. So now anytime I've got to add an is numeric or anytime I've got to add an exit, I can just drop that code in there. All right, everybody has that? Okay. Then I'm going to jump back up again into here. So if keep going, and what do I want to do? Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to set the temperature, and I want to set it equal to, I'm sorry, forget that. I was a line ahead. I want to check and see if it is numeric. If is numeric, text box temp dot text. You already know what that means. All right, that means that if what we put in here, this is our sole input. Does that make sense to everyone? That's it. That's it. So if what we put in there was numeric, all right, well, then we can convert it. So temp equals convert dot to int 32 text box temp dot text. Again, there shouldn't be anything that's in there that's a surprise to anyone. All right. I verified that indeed it was numeric, and if it was numeric, I'm going to convert it. All right. Then think about this. There's three things that could happen here. All right. Number one, I could put in something that was invalid. All right. I've already covered that. Would you agree? Okay. And when I say invalid, I mean non-numeric or blank. I've covered that. But I could put in something that's out of range. I haven't checked for that yet. So I have to check for out of range. I have to check for in range. But I also have to check for my end temperature to say that I'm done. I checked for that first. So I said here, if temp equal end temp, and I'm just going to put a comment here that says minus 999 inputted for temperature. So if that's the case, I am done. All right. So since I'm done entering input, now it's time to figure out the average. All right. So I'm going to figure out the average temperature. And how? I've got a routine already that's called calculate average temp. It's going to need the total number of degrees, and it's going to need the number of temperatures. All right? And I'm not going to lie to you. The way I have this written now, I didn't think about this before, but my guess is the way it is now, if you put in minus 999 to begin with, the program's probably going to blow up, because it's going to try to divide the total degrees by the number of temperatures, and if that's 0, it's probably going to blow up. So I really should check for that. We can worry about that when we get to that in just a couple minutes. All right. Then after we do that, again, we can do it here. We don't have to do it here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put here text box AWD temp equals average temp dot toString F2. 2. And that's going to give me the average temp to 2 decimal places, and that should be .text. That's why it's blown up. All right. And if you look up on the screen here, please look on the screen. When I put this code in here to end the program, see that? It's okay there, but either I should copy it, or even better, I should put it in here, because there's time to exit program. See that? So what I really should have had up here is a call to time to exit program. That's what should have been in there. Now, if you don't do that, you're going to have a problem. Why? Because what the program said you're supposed to do is when you put in minus 999, the program's supposed to end. It's considered poor programming practice, although you can do it. You really shouldn't be calling an exit button's click routine from a different routine. Did everybody hear what I just said? You really shouldn't be calling an exit button's click routine from another routine. So instead, I'm going to call time to exit program both from my exit button and from right here. All right, and the program should be done by then, but just in case, I'm going to put a return in there. You really shouldn't have to do that. The program should have ended, but I'm putting a return in there just in case. All right. So, in other words, this is checking for, we'll call it end of program temperature. All right, so that's the first thing I'm doing. All right. Well, if I get down to here, if I put in here, in fact, I don't even need one of those. I'm going to put in here, I could put in else, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just make another if. And I'm going to say there, if the temperature is less than the min, or the temperature is greater than the max, I don't know how I got those, but I got those. There. Looks a little better. Well, what do I know here? It's out of range. It's a number, but it's either less than minus 20 or it's greater than 130. So, I'm just going to put a comment here that says check for out of range temperature. Less than 20, then minus 20, or greater than 130. That's what I'm checking for there. All right. Remember, the specs to our program said that if it's the end temperature or if it's an out of range, don't add it. It's not a valid temperature. All right. So if this is the case, what do I want to do? Well, I want to write an alert message. Look up on the screen, please. I already have that one, right? So I want to write that error message. I called it Temp OOR. So that's what I'm going to do. I've already got a routine here that's called alert message. I'll put my temp there, and I just say I'll have out of range temperature input. Inputted, whatever you want to say. It doesn't matter. All right. So I'm going to do my alert message. Can somebody tell me? Look on the screen, please. I'll come right back to the code. So I put 130 in here, right there. In fact, I put in 180, which is out of range. Okay? I put in 180 right there. I click the calculate button. It comes up and it gives me the error message. What do I want to do next? Clear it and then reset my focus. Pardon me? Yeah, it's the same code that we did up above. So yeah, we could. I don't know if I wrote a thing. Yep, clear temp text box. We could put that code in there. All right. Which, you're right, that would be cleaner. So, but for now, I'll just put in text box average temperature dot text equals double quote text box avg temp dot focus. All All right, and really, this code that's here, to be cleaner, I should actually just take it, put it in here, like that, and then call clear temp text box. All right. You can do it either way. It's not that big a thing. All right. Okay. I should have handled that now. The other thing I'd probably want to do here, since it was out of range and I cleared it, I probably want to return. I don't want to go on. There's no sense in going on. All right. Now, can somebody please tell me this? We checked up here. That's going to get rid of any illegal input, non-numeric or blank. Okay? We checked here for our end temperature. We checked here for an out of range temperature. So if I get to here, can somebody tell me what does that mean? The code in here is going to handle what? Yeah, well, you're right, but even more generally, it's a valid temperature, right? We know it's valid, okay? So, the order in which you do this isn't really that important. I'll put a comment in here. Inputted temperature was between -20 and 130. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a ++ on num temps. All right. And again, like I said, the order in which you do these things is not that important. All right. Okay. Then I want to take, and I've got a variable called tot degrees. I showed it to you right up there. All right, on the board, and I'm going to say I want to add to that the temperature I just put in. All right, then I have to check and see if I've got a new high temperature. So if temp is greater, is greater than highest, all right, and do I have a variable called highest? No. What does that mean? I'm going to get an error, correct? And I'm trying to figure out why, because where did I put that? Oh, because I've got one called high temp. All right. What does this mean? I'm asking you this question. This one right here says increment total number of temps by 1. All right. This here says add degrees for current temp to accumulator. All right? But I'm asking you this question. What does this mean in English? What does it mean? Right. You've got a high temperature. Is this one, or should this one replace it? That's all it's saying. All right? So, if true, new high temp / replace current. Okay? So, not a lot to do. High temp equals temp. All right? And text box high temp dot text equals high temp dot toString. Since it's already an int, I don't have to do any formatting. So if you look up on the screen, what we've handled here, all right, we attempted to convert it to a number. We haven't written that else yet. We're going to write that in a minute because there's very little to do. All right, but if we get down to here, it was numeric. So I couldn't even put a thing down here. Inputted temperature was numeric. right? So we check to see if it's the end temperature. If it is, we handle it accordingly. Then we come down there to check if it's out of range. If it's not the end and if it's not out of range, it must be valid. So we're in here. All right? So we handle it accordingly. The only other thing to do is we had this if right here. If is numeric. What if it's not numeric? Well, if it's not numeric, we'll put an else in here, and we'll put in inputted temperature was not numeric. So we've got an else here, and I did another alert message. And again, I put in that temp OOR. All right, and here I'm just going to put in inputted temperature not numeric. Again, you can put in whatever you want there. It really doesn't matter. And when I'm done, I want to clear that temperature text box and return. The good news is we have very, very little code to write yet. All right, we'll write this and we can take a break if you want a break. All right, so let's see if that worked. So I can come in here and I should be able to check everything now. All right, so I'm going to come in here first. And like I said, this may blow the program up. If I put in minus 999 right now and I click calculate, exit program now, it didn't. Well, that's a good thing. So, but notice when I put in minus 999 like that, if I click calculate, it did set the average temperature, which really probably shouldn't have done. So I could check for that. It's no big thing. All right. I don't want to end the program. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to click clear, which works, and I'm going to put in those temperatures that are right there. So 70, clear, 80, clear, 37. What's that? Yeah, I shouldn't be clearing. You're right. So let's try it again. 70, calculate, 80, calculate, 37, calculate, 46 and 72. 46 and 72. I just, for now, I just put in all valid stuff. Now I'm going to put in my minus 999. Click calculate. And it said, well, something's wrong. Because I haven't figured out the average temperature yet. I didn't put in that code. All right. But the rest of it appears to be running correctly. It's got the right high temperature. All right. And it is letting allowing me to exit the program. All right. They are read-only. It doesn't look like it, but I made them read-only. These are both, it's hard to tell on there, but they're both gray. Yes? When we do our reset, the question is, when you do your clear, should you reset? When you're working, typically when you're working with anything that are variables like that, and accumulators, etc., yes. That's considered good practice. Yeah. But the thing is, and you're going to see this tomorrow when we look at the rock, paper, scissors, sometimes you might have two clear buttons. Do you want to clear everything, or do you just want to clear certain things? See what I'm saying? Tomorrow for the rock, paper, scissors program, I have two clears. One clear clears everything. So it clears all the scores, it clears everything. The other thing leaves the scores there. All right, so I'll show you how to handle that tomorrow. You might have already figured it out anyway. All right. So I'm down here now, and what's left? Well, that's the reason I'm getting that for the average, because I didn't put any code in there. All right. Did we call calculate average up above? It should be in here, right there. Yeah, that's the only time that I did it. Because otherwise you're constantly going to be updating it. And if you're going to put in 50 temperatures, do you want to do it? If you wanted to, you could. No, there's also the exit button. The way it is right now. If you don't like it that way and you'd want an average every time, you can do that. I don't care. All right. So I'm going to come in here. Now the problem is that what I want is a double, but I've got 2 ints. How do I handle that? Everybody hear what I said? The problem is, what I want to do is this. I want to return total degrees divided by num temps. Now you're all typing, but that's wrong right now. What's wrong with that? I really want to return a double. So if my amount is 49.6, I want it to say 49.6. I don't want it to say 49. I don't want it to say 50. All right? So what I can do is I can take this, either one of these or both, and remember, we can do an explicit cast. Right there. So I'm saying treat my total degrees as though it was a double. I can do a cast here, I can do a cast here, or I can cast both. It is not changing the value. All right, everybody hear me? It is not changing the value because it's on the right-hand side of an equal sign, so all that's being changed in there is a copy. All right. Now, to go back to what Christian said, all right, just so you know this, right now we're only calling this average temperature. I'm only calling it right there if it's the end. All right. And I could do it in here. It's totally fine if you want to do that. All right. But I'm going to try it again. So I'm going to come in here. First, let's put in nothing. I click calculate. Something's wrong. All right. It's not giving me an error message. Can I put in something? I still can put in something. I don't know why that is, but I have to check that. All right. Let's put in something out of, how about this? Okay. So something's wrong in my code. Let's try something out of range. Wow. Let's try something in range. So let's put those up there again. 70, calculate. 80, calculate. 37, calculate. 46 and 12. And then negative 999. So click calculate. It does have the right average. Well, that's good news. 49. All right. And yeah, I can stop the program. But something is goofed up. Either I have a return where I shouldn't or vice versa. I'll have to check that. I'll check that during the break. All right. There's probably at least one error in this program. But let's look at what's left. We calculated the average now. We've already cleared the text box. We've already written our is numeric. All right. Oh, we didn't write the code yet for the alert message. That's why I'm not getting alert messages. That makes sense? All right. That's why. So let's write that code right now. And that's that. It's the same stuff I've shown you before. All right. Now, give me a second. I'll come right back to the code. But let me run it now, and let me quickly test all those things. Nothing in there. Okay, there you go. Not numeric, must be, it'll give the range. This should give the same error message, and it does. That I've got a clear statement missing, you can see that, so I'll have to fix that. How about out of range? Out of range, and it tells what the range is. I got it. It looks like I'm missing a clear there. All right, and again, out of range, and I'm missing a clear there. So I'm missing some statements, all right, that are clearing the screen. And the first thing that made me think of was, well, that is saying to clear it. So I'm not calling clear temp box, temp text box, or something. There's something missing there. All right, I've got the alert message in there now. And, well, what's left? I don't think there's anything. Clear, exit. No, that's it. So I've got to check. The only thing that does not appear to be working correctly now is the system is not clearing. It is not clearing the text box. All right. After I've got my errors. Now, could I change that? Well, look on the screen. This would actually, right now, I've only got one text box where I'm putting in information. Correct? I could put it right here if I wanted to in my alert message. Because I know it's an error. So I could say here, text box temp dot text equal nothing. I could add that there. That may or may not be the best place to add it, but it's a place I can add it. All right. So now let's run it one more time. Put in nothing. All right, I get the non-numeric message. Put in that. Get the non-numeric message. Out of range. Oh, there it blew up. Look at that. Convert to int. What does that mean? That means that my code, the way it's currently written right there, it'll only handle a 2int 32, a 32-bit int. So how do I fix that? I could make it a 64-bit int, but eventually, if I hold down on a character number key long enough, it's going to be too big. All right. So how do you handle that? There's different ways you can handle it. One is to ignore it and think it's probably never going to happen. All right. And another way would be to sit there and basically, before you even do this, you could check the contents to see if it was longer than a certain number of characters. And if it was, just not accept it. All right. For now, I'm just going to call that, for lack of better words, that's going to be an acceptable error. All right. You can. You know, it wouldn't hurt one way or the other. If you want to change that to 64, okay. But you're still going to have, it says you can't change a long to an int. All right. So that convert to int 64, yeah, you're going to have to make some other changes. I'm going to leave it at 32. But like I said, there are ways that you can program that. There are. All right. Is there anybody who needs any of this shown that you missed a part or anything else? That? Yes. And again, I'm not going to say to you, well, this is, you know, what this is maybe the best program ever written. First of all, it'd be a lie. Now, yesterday, I'll tell you something real quick that happened in the afternoon. Okay, on Tuesday, the second year people had their first Java test. All right, 5 people in the class, 2 people just got it. All right, they did the stuff. The class runs 12:35 till 4:25. One guy was done a little after 2:30. His looks like it's all correct as far as I can tell. Another guy turned his in second, same thing. Next guy turned his in a little bit afterwards. There's a couple flaws, but it's basically right. 2 other people, there's only 5 in that class. One of them didn't even wrote down. I really don't have a clue. All right. Well, the reason I'm telling you that is what we did yesterday is we wrote it as a class. And like I let you guys do, I said if you got under a 70, that you could redo it, and I'd at least bump your grade up to a 70. I'm not going to do that for every test. All right, but I did it for the first one for them and the first one for you. The bottom line is this. All right, I gave a similar test to the one they took the other day a year ago. But I asked them to do a lot more work than these people did. And I had one of my better students who still passed the test, but he said, I want to tell you, that was actually too much to put into 4 hours. I could do it. If you'd let me take it home, I could have done it and done it perfectly. But I don't think I could have done all that in 4 hours. The reason I'm telling you this is when I write a test and I give you 2 problems to do, some of you are going to get it done in an hour. You just are. You're going to get it, and it's like, oh, I know what he wants. Boom, boom, boom. You'll do that. Other people will struggle and take almost the entire 4 hours. All right. I've had people here where they say, you know, maybe some of you did this last semester. I don't know. That we had a test, and the next class was in here, and you were still sitting here. All right. And Brock has told me that, oh, if they find an empty spot, that's not the point. The point is you're supposed to be able to do it in 4 hours. And if you can't, it's on me as much as it is on you. All right. So when you take that test on Tuesday, there will be 1 problem. All right. And that 1 problem will be a console application. There will be 1 other problem that will be a GUI application. Neither one of them, I don't think, are going to take you all that long. So that should give you time to work on the logic and make sure you're not missing anything. Yes?
That's Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday. I'm sorry. Wednesday. Tuesday will be the Chapter 5 test and then lab. You're right. Wednesday. Yes. Am I going to give you the what? I've actually, for both of them, I did screenshots. And I said I'd like it to kind of look like this. Now, you can use your own creative prose. You know what I mean? If you want a little bit, I don't like the verbiage you use. As long as your code's okay, that's what matters. All right. There's a very good chance, what I'm looking at right now, when we go over Chapter 6, at the end of next week and the following week, probably that Friday, we'll have our 3rd test, and it'll be just on Chapter 6. Okay? And my guess is when you do that test, I'm only going to give you 1 problem. 1. But it'll be fairly substantial. And I'll say, I don't care if you do it as a GUI. I don't care if you do it as a console. But I'm not going to give you a picture. With that one, I want you to use your own way of doing it. Does that make sense? All right. Because as we go on, the stuff's getting harder, but you're progressing too as far as your knowledge and the kind of things that you should do. Anybody else need anything shown on here? Had a problem that something didn't work or whatever? All right. It's going to, yeah, it might. And it's going to crash because when you're doing that try parse, not in there, when you're doing it, it's because you're trying to put apples into an orange bag. All right. We're gonna hit some more. I'm giving you a lot of the stuff that's later on in the book, but we're gonna hit some more of it later on, and you'll learn how you can basically keep that from happening. Period. All right. All right. It is 9:30. Let's take a 15-minute break. When we come back, we're gonna go over the other problem. If you take a look on the screen, that one was 4.5 pages. This is the next one. So I'm hoping we can get it done, hopefully by no later than a little after 10 o'clock. All right, so come back at 9:45, please.